Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Parsha and Wine Pairing here at Kosherwine.com. I'm your host Jared. Here's David back joining us this week. Thank you now for joining us as we sample another wine that goes with this week's Torah portion, this week's Parsha.
All right.
David?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you all, and I missed you guys last week. Glad to be back. You guys did a fantastic job. I just wanted to remind everyone that the wines that we feature are 7% off. You can go online, enter code Parsha7, P-A-R-S-H-A, and the number 7, and you'll get 7% off. That's this week's wine and the wine that we're going to feature for next week's Parsha. This week we're actually going to do two wines.
Yeah, so I'll explain why we're going to do two. We have this week for the Parsha Vayigash, and then next week is Vayichi. So next week actually is going to be a minor fast day, Esser B'Tevis, the 10th of Tevet. So won't be able to drink. Unfortunately, we'll have to save our appetites for Shabbat. But we're going to sample it now though, so that we can give you some tasting notes, and then you have an option to buy it and then have it next week and break your fast on it, right? Well, that might be
maybe
a little bit of a
All right, so this week's Parsha, Jared, where are we at? You mentioned it before.
Yes, so now is the climax of the whole saga of Joseph and his brothers. So Joseph became the ruler of Egypt, and his brothers came down to buy food because of the famine in the land. He recognizes his brothers, they don't recognize him, and so he treats them very badly because he wants to test them and see if they have mended their ways. So he plants the goblet in Binyamin's sack, and then he says, "You've stolen one of my goblets." Finds that Benjamin was the one who had the goblet, so he says, "I'm going to take Binyamin as a slave, and the rest of you can go back to your father." And so now this is the testing point for the brothers. This is the second time they've been faced with the issue of putting one of their brothers into slavery. So Judah actually steps up, Vayigash, and Judah approached Joseph. And Judah makes a very heartfelt plea not to take Binyamin into slavery, and they all offer themselves at that moment to become slaves in place of Binyamin, who's the second youngest son of Jacob. So for that, Joseph finds that they've mended their ways. He breaks down, he tells them, "I am Joseph, I am your brother." Big shock. Obviously this is like the big huge climax of the whole story, and so then it ends nicely, and Binyamin is obviously not taken as a slave, and so for Benjamin, we're pairing it with Binyamina Reserve Cab.
Nice. So Binyamina is the winery. Any Binyamina wine could fit with this week's Parsha. We're going to give this a little taste and tell you something about it. I see Ari is watching and joining us. Ari, hello. Ari is our fine wine consultant. He's online. If you have any questions, you can post them in the comment section, and I'm sure Ari will be more than happy to answer your questions. So again, Binyamina is the winery, Binyamin in this week's Parsha, that's the connection. We're going to go ahead and give this a taste. This is the 2014 Cabernet Reserve. Okay.
Very dark fruit, moderate tannins. Nice balance between the fruitiness and then the earthiness that a lot of Israeli cabs have. This is another great quality price ratio wine. It sells for in the 20 range, and it's mevushal too, so it can be used at any event. This has been one of my favorite wines, and I recommend it for a lot of people who are looking for something in that price range and something that's nice from Israel.
Yeah, it's one of our best sellers. Yeah. This is a very, very popular wine, and it's also, I think part of this popularity is because it's mevushal, people looking for something that's not quite entry level, and yet mevushal. This is a good option. It's a good QPR, good value you get for this wine. More about the notes, definitely getting like some of that red fruit, very well integrated, nice amount of oak. Very pleasant. This is, if you like a wine that's not excessively fruity, and nothing, and it's not too oaky either. It's just, it's really, really smooth, really pleasant. I'm gonna give it another little taste.
It's a nice balance. And this is the
2014.
2014. Okay. I've had most of the vintages. They've all been pretty consistent in their quality. And there's a couple other good varieties too. We have the Cab, but if you like Shiraz, Shiraz is also a great one in this line from Binyamina. And the Merlot.
And Merlot, they have a Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc.
And then Yogave, which is a little lower, but people like that. It's a big popular one.
Yeah, the Yogave is actually, it's an interesting series, the Binyamina Yogave. They kind of highlight the winemakers, so they have different, different vineyards that the farmers that grow the grapes, so they have different vineyards that they source from.
It's a lot of blends too.
A lot of blends.
They do a lot of blending in that series.
Aside from the Cab, I think everything else is a blend there. And then they have the Binyamina Bin, which is their entry level, and then of course they have the Diamond series, or the Avnei Choshen series, which was out of stock for a while, but now it's back. The Diamond.
You may just see it again in another Parsha sometime.
Maybe if it fits.
You'll have to be dedicated and stay tuned with us.
And then there's the Cave. Obviously, that's their flagship wine, the Binyamina Cave. And
that's one of my favorite wines. I can't drink it all the time, obviously, but it's excellent.
I'm surprised you didn't choose it for this week's pairing.
Yeah, well,
And then there's the Old Vines Cave. So great winery, and they're producing wines at different price points. So there's if you're just getting into it, you can start with the Binyamina Bin series, or the Binyamina Yogave series, or even the Reserve series, which is very well priced for a Reserve series wine. So definitely highly recommended. I think everyone here enjoys this wine. Now we're going to move on to.
Let's put this aside.
Jared, why don't you introduce this wine and tell us why we're.
Okay, so this wine we're going to have is the Tepperberg Legacy Petite Syrah, but I chose Legacy.
Petit Verdot,
Petit Verdot, excuse me.
Yeah.
Petit Verdot. This is another fantastic one. I haven't had, but I'm very excited to try it. So this one is gonna, next week I chose it for Vayigash, because Vayigash is all about Jacob comes down to Egypt, and before Jacob dies, he gives all his 12 sons blessings and, to carry on the legacy of Judaism and of Israel.
So Tepperberg Legacy.
Tepperberg Legacy, of course, and I was really happy that this one could fit in, because this is a very, very, very highly recommended wine.
And the Legacy series has 3 wines: the Cab Franc, the Petit Verdot, and the Petite Syrah.
I think we featured this in a wine club, also.
It's possible, yeah. These are beautiful bottles. I don't know if you can see the whole packaging, and they're really. It's a big bottle. It's very nice. It makes an impressive gift for anyone out there still looking for some gifts for the rest of the year or for next year. Legacy, Vayigash. This is going to be the wine you want to pair with next week's Parsha. So next week we're off. So watch this twice.
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
Now, this is a big wine. This is still young for this wine. It's definitely classic. That Petit Verdot taste that you get. There's dark plum. There's definitely
cherries, raspberries.
Yeah, you're definitely getting a lot of the fruit. I would say that this could use a lot of time. It's a big wine. You can drink it now and enjoy it. I would let it breathe a little bit longer. I think we only let it breathe for about a half an hour, 45 minutes. We could have let that breathe a bit longer. But definitely a big wine, well integrated, balanced.
It's very
like all
dark.
the wines that Jared chooses.
Look at this color.
Yeah, dark, very dark, very big.
Oh, this is good. Have to try this next week after the fest. Love it.
Long finish. It definitely lingers. So Jared, 2 great choices. Both wines are from Israel. We got the Binyamina Reserve Cab. We got the Tepperberg Legacy Petit Verdot.
And if anyone has tried this, please in the comment section let us know what your opinions were on these, or if you have any questions. But
let us know
we'd love to hear from you.
Especially if you've had all the legacies, let us know which one you like best. And don't forget that 7% off with the code Parsha7. All the Tepperberg Legacies, all the Binyamina wines, and you can purchase them this week and next week. Don't forget next week to get this wine for your table. It's going to make a great Shabbos wine for Parsha pairing, especially for the last Shabbos of the calendar year.
And the last Shabbos of Bereshis before we move on to the new book of the Chumash.
All right, guys, thanks for joining live from Kosherwine.com.
Good Shabbos, everyone.
Good Shabbos, and have a great rest of 2017.